Hi, Filmatics and Moguls. Welcome to the show today. Today we have a very special guest. We have Ludon Lee. Ludon Lee is the executive chairman and CEO, president, global studio operations of Rice Rocket Entertainment Holding Company, Ludon Inc. Ludon, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Thank you. How you doing?
Great. And the reason we have Ludon on is he's fantastic in entertainment and investments, but we want to celebrate Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So we want to just wish everyone a great month. And Ludon, thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's my first podcast. I've been hiding for the last 10 years.
Wait, this is your first podcast? Oh my God, I'm so excited. Filmatics and Moguls, did you hear that? I mean, and that's a point of reference too, that when people are busy and working and building, like their companies and their executives and chairmans and creators, they're busy working. So if they're not on social media, it's probably because they're building their empires. But Ludon, can you let everyone know where you're recording with us today from?
I'm in San Francisco. I live in North Beach. I'm like a block away from Washington Park. So every morning I get my coffee down at Fisher's Wharf at 7-Eleven, and I walk back. It's an hour. I listen to my Spotify, and I hang out with like military veterans. There's a apartment that house like disability veterans. They're like in their seniors, and we smoke weed. They hang out. And I go to work at 9. Get my day going.
That's amazing. And when we were talking too, you love like all the little coffee shops, but I love it how you still go to 7-Eleven and get a coffee. But do you have a favorite coffee shop in San Francisco that is opening back up that you've missed?
Yeah, this one block, Cafe Greco. It's like they're owned by Latinos. It's always there, and North Beach is an Italian district in San Francisco. There's outdoor seating, so it's like you can get coffee for $4, and it's like refills $2. They have free Wi-Fi. So like I don't pay for like Comcast or like any other internet Wi-Fi in my apartment, and because I just would just walk down the street and just get my coffee and then work all day there. I could hang out all day long and do my video conference meetings and my phone calls and my emails, and like if I'm hungry, I just order food from them. So I'm very fortunate to live in a district because North Beach is like one block over from Chinatown, right? And Chinatown, like they open 6 o'clock in the morning, so you get dim sum and all that, for like, you get like porridge for $4. It's like versus going to IHOP, you spend $20 for breakfast, whatever, right? So, I live in San Francisco. I was born and raised here. I'm Chinese American. I was born in Chinatown. My family, we met in Chinatown. My dad was immigrant and came in the late 60s. Started off as a waiter, didn't have any money. He was speaking English, and he learned, in the communities in Chinatown. My mom, she immigrated from Hong Kong during the immigration movement in the late 60s and 70s when Congress decided to pass a law bill to have Asian countries come over to the U.S. So that was the whole Asian wave that came over, and Chinatown, San Francisco is the biggest Chinatown in the U.S. It's like several blocks, and the Chinese community is big in San Francisco. Like we had a mayor, Ed Lee. He passed away during his mayorship. But other than that, Asian Americans, think about entertainment. I mean, like Hollywood, they're not seeing the big picture here. Take for example, Crazy Rich Asian. It was like a new thing for the U.S. for the non-Asian market, right? And it was like people are blown away by it, right? It made a lot of money at the box office, but did poorly in China, right? Because Asians, we're accustomed to seeing this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So, from Silicon Valley, there's a market opportunity here to actually utilize the Asian American creative talents and also filmmakers and producers. There's not a whole lot of us, because we're taught that way growing up when we're at school. We're go to college, get straight A's, get scholarships, and get a job as a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or engineer. There's no guys like me, running around Hollywood and video game industry and the music industry and the comic industry, going to Comic-Con, going to E3 and Game Developers Conference and South by Southwest. It's like, like for me, it's like, I'm very fortunate how I started in the industry, because, there needs to be more Asian Americans like me in this industry because like, I can't do it all alone in terms of what I do, which is building new tech Hollywood in Silicon Valley.
That's amazing because I want everyone to know that Ludon's company is Silicon Valley Rice Rocket, and we're celebrating, or you're celebrating, I'm celebrating with you, and everyone that is celebrating Asian Heritage Month for developing new tech in Hollywood. So, can you explain that a little bit? What that means when you say new tech in Hollywood? Because I know you're a big gamer, and you started I want everyone to know, can you tell us how you started your career? And first I want to tell them that you're the year of the tiger. So can you share what that means?
It means like I'm very good at business and politics. I'm very diligent. I can be very stubborn. I'm learning not to be much stubborn, to give people the benefit of the doubt that, they could be right or wrong, or I could be right or wrong. It's always like, I'm always the alpha, male, and I'm definitely not passive aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah. I mean, I'm just having a good time. So how I started, it was like, before I joined the corporate world when I was in college, I volunteered a lot in the Asian American community. I volunteered at the Asian Law Caucus, where I did translations with Cantonese speaking clients to talk to attorneys, because the Asian American attorneys who worked at ALC, they were like Mandarin speaking, right? So it was a language barrier between Mandarin and Cantonese speakers, right? So I did all that, right? And I did a lot of civil rights advocacy work in the 90s, and I thought I wanted to get into immigration law and get into politics, right? That was like my dream, but that changed when I needed money. You know what I mean? Like I was looking for a job, and there was a job posting in the Chronicle for a game tester, Electronic Arts. So I applied, right, and I got interviewed, and they asked me a bunch of questions about golf. Like, do I play PGA 486, or do I play this, and do I actually play in real life? And I was like, yeah, I actually do. In fact, when I was in college, we played the PGA game for the Genesis. We played for money. We played for skins. So I was familiar with the, So I was familiar with the EA Sports brand, right? So I got the job making $11 an hour, and the first game I tested was Tiger Woods 99 for the Windows PC, right? And this was back in 1997, more than 20 years ago. Making $11 an hour, and I experienced crunch mode. That's what we call it in the game industry because we don't get paid by the hour. We do by law. We get paid by the hour, but like there's deliverables with milestones. If we miss a ship date, there goes the stock price, right? We fucked up, right? So I was taught early on at a young age, being an entrepreneur today, is that you got to put in a long hours. You got to do more than 40 hours a week. You got to be like a professional player, like Mark Cuban said in business. So I started EA, doing Tiger Woods 99. It was an opportunity where the company was growing. So like I moved up pretty quick in the world in the EA company. And, and there was a point where I couldn't move any further, right? I worked there for 6 years, right? I wanted to do more than just, do what I was doing. And there was a job opening for a QA manager for a mobile game company, right? And back then, this was back in 2003 when there was still Snake on cell phones, right? And today, it's like the mobile game business half the revenue of the industry. So I was like, okay, if I'm leaving from a big publicly traded company like EA, join a startup, right? I'm like, okay, why not, right? Because I can learn a lot, about, working in Silicon Valley, okay? So I joined, and the guy that founded the company was a guy who he designed the original John Madden football, right? He also worked for EA as well, and he was an executive. He also designed NHL hockey and FIFA and NASCAR and other titles for EA sports. So he had raised money from Silicon Valley to start a game publisher for mobile games, right?
Well,
And
can
that
we
game
let
publisher,
everyone know? Sorry, Lynn, it's Scott Orr that you're talking about, right? Is that Scott Orr?
yeah,
Industry
he
pioneer.
was
Okay.
pretty much my mentor. You know what I mean? Like I got fired with him. You know, when Greg Ballard took over Glue Mobile, and that was Glue Mobile. He founded Glue Mobile, right, and went publicly traded on Nasdaq in 2007. I think the market cap was like 350 million. So it went public and recently got bought by EA. I think for like 3 or 4 billion, right? So Scott Orr was a pioneer in the industry because before he actually got a job at EA, he worked for Activision, right? And before that, he had GameStar, right, in the 80s, right? And basically he had a development and publishing business for games, for back in the 80s, before the game industry is today, because back then everybody thought it was a toy business, the kids play it, right? But think about the kids today, they're adults, right? Think about what's going on in the gaming industry. It's bigger than Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's pretty much, it's $150 billion. That's what they estimate, right? Half of it's mobile, right? So it's growing, and it's evolution of the video game industry, how it converges with film and animation, right? Because think about what Hollywood is, right? I mean, we look at the logistics of the studios, right? Before they all got acquired by bigger companies, right? Like, were they actually making money? Because if they were making money, they wouldn't get bought, right? Like Fox got bought by Disney, right? Paramount, Viacom merged with CBS, right? You have like DreamWorks Animation being acquired by Universal, Comcast, right? And you have like Time Warner going to AT&T. I mean, like they were liquidating the assets for VOD, like Netflix. That was the whole purpose of the acquisitions and mergers, right? Look at what's going on today, right? Everybody's competing, trying to be like the next Netflix, right? So when you look at the how they make money, it's licensing. It's all about like when you look at movies, right? It's a billboard for merchandise, right? Spider-Man, did it actually make money for Sony? I don't know, right? But I know they made money on the video game for licensing, because of the Spider-Man game, right? So from a career perspective, right? There's opportunities to say, wait a minute here, right? Especially for independent film guys, right, or girls, right? It's like instead of you raising money, right, just only for your film, why not raise your money for your video game or your T-shirts or your trading card, right, or your collectible action figures, right? Make it into a transmedia equity financing venture, right? Because you're doing something that's very disruptive, right? One, like you're sharing the assets that you own and create directly with the shareholders, right? Your investors. Okay, and I'll get to how you can get that later, right? So what digital media is going, it's all about 5G internet. Think about this, right? It's like if you want your movie at AMC or Regal, right, the theater chains, right? They really make roughly like $11 to $12 billion a year, right? It's not really the compound growth rate. It's not really that high. It's all based on the economy, right? And it's all based on 3D sales too, right? So they take like 50 to 60% of the ticket sales, right? So you're making pretty much half of what the ticket makes, right? And the theater chains, they don't spend money on marketing to promote your movie. You know what I mean? You have to do that yourself, right? So on top of the money you spend on production, you also got to spend money on marketing, right? The P&A fund, right? That's what they call it, right? I don't know what they call it now, but when I did, they call it P&A fund, right? So you take all that considerations, like what the fuck, right? It's like, is it really worth the investment? Put movie in theaters? Not really, right? Well, what's the catch here, right? So, well, YouTube, what Google reported was a $15 billion business, right? And it's growing, right? I read an article recently that, they made like 6 to 8 billion last quarter on ad revenue. You know what I mean? So, the YouTube platform is much bigger than Exhibitors platform, right? So instead of putting movies directly in theaters, why not put it on YouTube and you generate ad and sponsorships, right? You include behind the scene footage and actors interviews and things like that. You make a complete channel, right? And what you're doing is you're promoting your sales, for the director's cut version of it, right? Because there's people out there who love your movie, but don't want to sit down and see the ad, every 12 minutes, right? They actually see a director's cut version, where they can rent or buy. You know what I mean? So it's like, for example, you can have the director's cut version on Amazon Prime and Apple and Roku and YouTube Movies and any other VOD platforms that charges a rental or a purchase by streaming, right? You can do that way. You don't need a distributor from Hollywood to manage that for you. You just go on LinkedIn and find the right people that manages the business for the right accounts, or you go to Amazon, just do a Google search for Amazon VOD and sign up a membership, right? So you don't need to give a percentage to a distributor or find a sales agent, and it's all bullshit, because it's like, at the end of the day, what I've learned about working in Hollywood, right? It's like, there's a waterfall effect, right? I go out and raise money, right? And whatever it is, movie it is, I raise, right? Which I was never successful doing, because the investors I know are pretty savvy and pretty smart. They're not dumb, okay? Um, so you pay the exhibitor. They take 50 to 6% of the cut of ticket prices, right? Then you have the adjusted gross, right? Then you have the distributor, whether it's Lionsgate or some other independent distributor that distributes your movie for you, right? They take a cut, right? For you to very likely get that movie picked up, you put it in a film festival, right? So you had a sales agent, right? So that person takes a cut, right? And so forth and so forth, right? At the end of the day, what does an investor get? Pretty much nothing. It doesn't work that way in the real world. You know what I mean? I don't know how that all created. When you look at the independent film financing model, when was the last time it was updated? Especially with 5G internet. You know what I mean? So when people go out and raise money for film financing, right? You gotta look at the possibilities. One, do you have a business plan rather than just a pitch, right? How are you gonna make money for the investor? How are they gonna get the money back in return? Like, what's your go-to strategy in terms of getting your film, right, distributed on a global scale? Like, who do you actually know besides Hollywood? You know what I mean? So that's basically new tech Hollywood, because we're not doing like traditional Hollywood's doing. We're not spending like $100 million for a film. That's just ridiculous for us, right? Because you and I are pretty savvy. We're like, we can take the same amount of money and invest in 100 startups for video games. Bigger return on our investment. You know what I mean? So so basically, that's new tech Hollywood. I don't want to get into it, or given a little limited time we have, but they can always email me, by going through my LinkedIn, and check me out, adding me, and I can, give free advice for any content creators out there, and educate about new tech Hollywood.
Yeah, so Ludon, I just want to let everyone know. So really quickly, so you were started as a video game tester for Electronic Arts, which is EA, and you tested the first sports for Tiger Woods Pro Golf Tour. I mean, and then so you studied under industry pioneer giant Scott Orr, who was the original designer of John Madden Football. That's amazing, and founder of Glue Mobile that you said, and D2C games. And also publisher of video games, digital comics, movies, and TV shows for like Sony, PlayStation, Microsoft, Xbox, and Nintendo. And he just sold it, right? For like big, huge amount. So you are now like your company is like now doing the digital media, and it's also entertainment holding company. So that's what you're going to be launching, or you're in the process of launching right now and raising the capital for this company. You already raised it, right?
Well, I can't talk about it because I haven't finalized anything yet. I mean, the thing about fundraising is like, once you get first money in, everybody comes in, right?
Okay.
And it's all about the commitments, are they really going to pull through and writing me a check, right? So that's where I'm at right now. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not a broke joke, like I actually made money, and I know how to, spend my money wisely in terms of bootstrapping, because one thing you learn about building a startup in Silicon Valley is like, you're very limited on resources, It's like the first thing you do is you build a tech demo, right? It's like, how do you get the money to build a tech demo? Well, you ask your friends and family for the investment, right? And, instead of going out and raising $1 million, right, you raise $50,000 and see how far that takes you. You know what I mean? Because I've learned the difference, right, is that, when I'm building Rice Rocket is I'm not actively looking for investment dollars, but actually people are coming to me for it, because I'm pioneering tech Hollywood. That's the beauty of it, right? Because my business model can be applied to anywhere, any city, any place in the world, because 5G internet, as it's growing with the market segment, right, it's going to be developed over time where it's like affordable internet, and it's so extremely fast that you can distribute content on a cloud, right? Spotify's doing it, right? It's cloud-based, right? You have YouTube, right? It's all cloud-based stuff. Now you have gaming now, right, with Google Stadia. So what my thing is what I'm doing is like, when I was a venture capitalist with Ludon Inc., right? When I was looking for investments, a lot of like Hollywood producers, right, were coming to me, and it's all the same thing, like they're, like instead of asking for money or you're sprinting, right, so to speak, right, for a project, once you run a marathon and get investors to invest in your production company, which is the form of studio, right, and over time you build assets that you're developing movie projects or even television series projects or even animation, right? What makes your secret sauce is that you also do your own video games by partnering with game developers, and you do the financing and publishing, as well as like development for assets, and you can partner with Netflix or Amazon Prime or HBO Max, right? The original stuff, right? And you look at where the market segment's going, right? You're very likely to get acquired, over like 7 to 8 years of your business. Okay, so yeah, that's a thing about Hollywood, is like they need to learn about how Silicon Valley does things. Like, I'm a holding company, but I have assets. The Bay Area will have several new studios with LED production sound stages, right? How The Mandalorian was produced. Okay, we're going into casino and esports gaming. When you look at the convergence of the gambling industry, right? It's going to video games. And let's speculate that either Biden or the next president is going to legalize online gaming in the U.S. Because they're already doing sports betting, right? It's up to the states to decide to legalize it. Like California's legal, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, what do we do here? Like, do we go after like Hollywood celebrities to get them in as actors in our film? The answer is no, because I'm not paying $5, $10 to $20 million, right, for someone to act in a movie up in the Bay Area. It's just a ridiculous amount of money to spend on someone. You can take that money and do cancer research. So the trick for me is like converging the music artists, with video game industry, right? Because you look at these YouTube videos, right? You look at Taylor Swift and Katy Perry and Ed Sheeran and even Jay-Z, right? It's like they know how to act. You know what I mean? Like the trick is like, how do you get these guys to be in full feature films, right? So you say, look, homies, like you have the music stuff, right? We have the game stuff. We have distribution, right? We have money, right? Not only from Silicon Valley, but access to Wall Street and eventually China once the trade war is over, right? Because what's going on with the industry? Let's look at back with film, right? Like China will become the biggest market in the world, right? Film, games, whatever, because it's just by population in the working class, right? It's like it's growing, right? While here, we're dependent on stimulus checks right now. Okay, so how do you get access to the Chinese market? Okay, well, for one thing, Hollywood and China, they've been doing business for over a decade now, right? It's not really going too well. Like there's just saying that on signing a contract, there's a beginning negotiation with the Chinese, right? Well, that's a stereotype. That's not true. You know what I mean? Because, why would Chinese spend $1 million to pay someone to direct a movie? That fucking doesn't make any sense. You should pay someone $250,000, right? Whatever. You know what I mean? You're not curing cancer here, whatever, right? So that's what Silicon New Tech Hollywood is. Like, we're not over budgeting, our payroll. We're here to hang out and make cool stuff, right? And that correlates with the music industry, because I think artists, they just want to make cool stuff, And if they can converge, like for example, Taylor Swift, right? Her issue is like her assets got sold, to a third party, right? Like whatever, $300 million, right? But she has legal right to record her music, right? So what's the difference between like the license stuff between like her stuff, right, and the other party stuff? To me, as a licensee, it doesn't make any difference. I'm going to a lowest bidder for my Taylor Swift music soundtrack for my movie, whatever, right? But that's kind of fucked up on my part, right? Because I'm not really benefiting the artist, right? So for her, like she could like work with Silicon Valley, with New Tech Hollywood, and take her song, one of her songs, and make a feature film, or do an animation, right? Or do video games, but based on the music from her past albums and her upcoming music, right? Because music artists, right? There's so many ways to make money from the ancillary markets, right? Because commercials are making money off of them, right? Movies are making money off of them, right? Whatever it is, because the publishers of music and labels, they get benefit of profits, right? So the music artists, they very much control less in terms of what they want to do in terms of making their music, and doing cool things with it, right? So, what New Tech Hollywood is, we provide an opportunity for them to, actually do pretty good with Silicon Valley venture capital. Because when you look at what's going on, right? Like, I believe it was like a couple of years ago, one of the bigger Silicon Valley venture capital firms, NEA, right, which is founded by Dick Kramlich, right? They had a partnership with CAA to invest in an animation studio, I'm not the only guy doing it, right? Because like Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, we're known for the video game industry, you know? And since the giving birth to Atari in the late 70s, right, you have EA here, you have Japanese offices like Capcom and Sega here, right? You have Zynga, right? You have Warner Interactive. You used to have Disney here, right? So what's the next stage, right? I mean, like you have Lucas, Lucasfilm, Disney owns them, right? And Industrial Light and Magic, they're over the Bay Area. You have Pixar across the Bay in Emeryville. And on top of that is the opportunity to create jobs in California, right? Because the film industry, it's no longer just based on LA, because the internet fucked everything up, thanks to Netflix, right? So now the film industry is in Australia, right? You have a runaway program there now in Atlanta, in Georgia, right? You have Vancouver, right? And you have you have Nigeria and Africa, right? So the film industry is becoming a global scale. It's going to be bigger, right? And you just can't use a traditional Hollywood model with independent finance and distribution to emerge a new trend in the market,
So that's amazing. So, Ludon, so how do people that like you said, like you're looking for directors and singers and people that are like that want to work with you? How would they get in touch with you so that they can be part of your New Tech Hollywood and also celebrate with you? That's a wonderful and amazing Asian Heritage Month. How would someone keep in touch with you or get in touch with you, Ludon?
They could add me on LinkedIn. I mean, like I only add professionals, because I don't want to waste people's time and I don't want people wasting my time, So, they just go to my LinkedIn profile and check out my bio and my background. And if they want to add me, add me. And if you want to talk, introduction, meeting over the phone, we say, hey, what's up? And tell me about what you're working on. I'll tell you what I can do for you. And because the cool thing about what I forgot to mention is that because of the Jobs Act of 2012, and this is not utilized by curators, right? I mean, it's out there, but it's not really educated in terms of marketing that's available, for people to use, right? So the Jobs Act, what that says is like non-accredited investors can invest, right, in business ventures, right, that are normally for like high net individual investors, like private equity, okay? And there's a limit amount that you can invest as a non-accredited investor. So you and I, for middle class, right, we can actually invest in a startup, right? And you can apply that startup into a film venture, and just imagine this, right? Just say like, you spend a little bit of money, right? You go out and you raise money from your friends and family, say $50,000, okay? And this is for a horror project.
So this will be the end of part 1 with Ludon. So check us back for part 2 with Ludon. We're celebrating Silicon Valley Ludon Studios raising 25 million film initiative to celebrate Asian Heritage Month for New Tech Hollywood. And so coming back for part 2, this is part 1 with Ludon Lee. Thank you everyone for listening. Ludon Lee, appreciate it. And coming back for part 2 with Ludon, he's going to explain his New Tech Hollywood and all the amazing things that he's doing, especially for independent artists or artists who want to just work, just all about the work and making video games and amazing content from animation, music videos, films, horror films, double movie night. There's so much that Ludon's doing that would probably need like 10 parts. Thanks everyone for listening, and come back for part 2 with Ludon Lee.